The Denver Public Schools really is a learning organization, and one of the things that we consistently hear is that we need to do a better job of differentiating professional development for all of our educators, and principals are no exception. We're making the kind of changes that we're making in principal professional development so that principals really can have the support they need for where they are and their school is to maximize their learning time to have the greatest impact on their students' achievement. So I think all of us have had times when we're sitting in a session that somebody else created that just isn't working. And it's really clear that adults want to be able to be in charge of their own learning. And so I think about myself. I learned to ski as an adult. It was really hard to do it in the way that somebody else was saying. I wanted somebody to guide me, but I really wanted to be able to set the timing, how quickly I did it. When I was scared, I wanted to be able to pull back. I wanted to be able to be in charge of it. And the same thing is true for our principals in their schools. We have very little time to dedicate to learning. So the time that we do have really matters. And so rather than wasting time in a session where you feel like you already know it, or it's not what you need to learn at that point in time, we think it's a better move to say, let's put our principals who have all been selected because they're very capable, who are in charge of helping guide their schools, let's put them in charge of their own learning.
There are a couple of reasons that the district is changing its approach to principal professional development. First and foremost, for me, I think it's because we're listening to our principals, we're listening to the folks in the field who have expressed that they want a different format for their professional learning. In that different format, we are hearing and responding to a desire for two things. One, for learning to be more self-directed by principals themselves, and the second of which is for learning to be deeper dives into a more focused area of skill and content development. So as opposed to trying to meet the needs of a very large number of leaders all at the same time, the new system that we're conceiving of will allow us to go deeper.
In professional development, primarily reflects the need to do what's best for principals to help them lead their schools. And what that basically means is empowering them to make decisions that are necessary for their schools to be successful, placing them in a position where they are the primary decision maker as to how they continue to grow. In terms of the new professional development and the time commitment, it's not any more than it is now. And in fact, in many cases, it's less. When you think about the universal meetings, going from 6 meetings to 3, full days to half days. So it's less time. Same network meeting commitment that you have now. So that's not going to be any more. I think that what it's important to recognize is that many of our leaders choose lots of professional development options that aren't required. And they're going to have a lot more choice in this current system that we are creating versus the old system that we are vacating, in that they'll have a lot of options to engage in professional development with other colleagues, but those will be optional options or things that they chose to pursue in line with what they're already doing, because our principals value professional development and growth now, and we want to continue to honor them and support them as they do that.
An affinity group is a small cohort of principals or assistant principals, 10 to 15 individuals, identifying a problem of practice and working together to learn more about what research says, what it actually looks like when we think about exemplary practice, but also giving them time to, on a monthly basis, come together in different situations. So they could actually meet together in a school. They can research the problem of practice. They can observe practice, but also having that opportunity to come back as a team of cohorts focused on the same topic to really develop their skills, to question, to share knowledge, to share practice, to learn together.
One of the most essential things that we have facing us in our schools and really across the country is the work to prepare our kids for the Common Core state standards. It's really critical. It's been one of our areas of focus for the past 2 years. It's going to continue to be one of our areas of focus. But we really believe that people learn best when they can design the learning to meet their needs and the needs of their teachers and their schools based on their current conditions. And so rather than having a one-size-fits-all plan for how do we implement the standards. We really want to have tools and opportunities that schools can flexibly use around implementing the new standards. So there'll be some common things across all schools. So really thinking about how do we ensure that our lessons are aligned to the standards and use a backward mapping protocol is something that we'll see across all of the affinity groups, I think. When we look at how we use data, and the data that comes out of looking at student performance aligned to the standards is something that likely will be really common across all of our affinity groups. But I think we would be fooling ourselves into thinking that there's one way to learn about the new standards, or that every school is in the same place. And so we really want to recognize and support the idea that all of our teachers, all of our principals, all of our schools are at a different place in their journey toward full implementation of the standards. We want to make sure that the supports are there regardless of where you are, but give people the opportunity to lead their schools in the way they know best. The first step to implement our new PD plans for principals will be to wrap up this year and really determine the area of focus, our goals for this next coming year. Then we'll put principals into groups with similar topics. We'll have a catalog of courses, sessions, opportunities for learning for principals to select from. And the idea is really that each principal will be able to build an individualized plan that'll accommodate when networks are meeting, and we'll have all those dates, when the universal sessions are happening, when affinity group meeting dates can be scheduled.
I would love to reiterate the fact that I think this is a great moment to reinforce that we listened to our principals, we heard them, and we are aiming to produce a system that is more aligned with their needs. I think the second really important shift is empowering grown-ups in the same way we're hoping that grown-ups in classrooms empower their students. So this new system being aligned to the Common Core and this new system being more relevant to our school leaders is a very salient shift in the way in which we operate in the realm of professional development. I think finally I would really emphasize the fact that all professional learning should manifest itself in changes and outcomes, that we are really looking to underscore a results-based framework whereby grown-up learning is directly transferred to student learning and is directly transferred to student outcomes.